What's up guys, Prophecy Axis here, bringing you the second part of my 5-part tutorial for intros. And this part we're just going to be starting where we left off. I just need to go and put this material back on because I reopened it just a second ago. There we go. Alright, so now that's done, I'm going to be, in this part, I'm going to be doing the lights, render settings, and the camera. So first off, we're just going to grab the lights. Obviously, if you have a Lightroom, you can skip it, this part. You don't need to do it, but I'm just going to do it. A simple, really simple Lightroom. So just get a light, and then put the shadow on Shadow Maps, Soft, and then get a cloner and put the light as a child of the cloner. And once we do that, go into the mode, switch it to radial, and then you can add counts, change how many lights will be in the scene, and you can change the radius, do whatever you want with these lights. Obviously this is a really simple setup. You can use your own Lightroom, make your own Lightroom. I'm just doing a really simple setup to save time here. And I might just move these up a bit. There we go. And then we're going to add a ambient occlusion by going into render settings and then effect ambient occlusion. And then what we've got here is the ambient occlusion settings, which I'm not going to be messing with. Now if we just look at that, this render time is actually going to go quite high now, because I have a really high detail, I guess, material on here. I might actually change the material of that rock to just a random, like, rock material, maybe from Pixels pack. Obviously you can do whatever you want with the materials, you can make your own materials, but just to save time I'm just going to be using some pack materials. Also, I'm pretty bad at making materials, so just gonna be honest. So yeah, there we go. We're starting to see something coming out of this. It's going to take quite a while to render. Can't really see the lines in between it. Obviously, well, I'm going to have a camera facing this. Also, I might put another light in here, get a spotlight. Pull this backwards. And we could also make this like a tiny kind of limeish color if you want, but that might be a bit too strong, I don't know. No, that's actually pretty nice. So yeah, the render times should take quite a while on this. Right, so now that we've got that, I'm going to start adding the camera movements and the animation I'm going to be putting onto here. So I'm going to change the comp length to, let's go 8 seconds. And once you've done it, drag this out so it fills up the whole composition. And once you've got that, I'm going to add a camera in here. So just click the camera button and click the perspective view. Go into your coordinates, and I'm going to change the rotation to 0, and I'm going to bring this into what I see as the middle, I guess. You can also do this, make it completely centered by changing the X and Y to 0. The Z is this, slide forward and back. So once you've got that, you can just start adding the motion. So I'm going to try and go through this, start playing it, so you can find where this material starts to break, which is around about 1 second. So if I go to 1 second, and then I'm going to be zoomed out a little bit more. So about here, and then at this point, I'm just gonna, I can just go back to the start because I know where it's going to explode. So I'm just gonna keyframe here, and then I'm gonna go to, let's go almost to 1 second. In fact 1 second. Yeah, I'm gonna go to 1.9. Keyframe it just here, and then I'm gonna move it forward a bit. And in fact, just a tiny bit forward, because this is 1 second. You can increase how long it's going to take for this to fall by moving the object with that's falling with the nitroblast on it. But I'm not going to do that right now because I know when it's going to fall. So now that I've got that, I'm just going to have that keyframed here. So if we go forward in time, let's play this. You can see that it's going to go forward, and at this point I'm going to have a really quick zoom in. It might look a bit weird actually. Might change this to have a little bit more time to zoom in. So it's going to go forward slightly and then zoom right in. In fact, let's just move this a bit closer, because you want to have a lot of motion at this point. Maybe move this along a bit. Actually, might make this zoom in a bit more. The camera movements just add to the impact here to make it look a bit more extreme, I guess. Yep. So once I've done that, I'm going to go to 8 seconds and zoom out a fair bit. I might change the coordinates of the rotation Z to 4, so you have a little rotation here. So as you can see, it's going to zoom out like that from the starting position. I still think that timing's a bit off. Don't know, I might move it forward a wee bit. There we go. And then also at this point I'm going to be animating the object that's on the rock. So I'm just going to wait for this to go. And probably at this point I'm going to grab this logo here, and I'm just going to press keyframe here just so I know where I want to start it. And then at this point, this is when I want it to be done, so I just keyframe it here. So that's the default position that we want. Go back to the first keyframe, and then I'm going to change this all to 0, all the scale, and I'm also going to rotate this. I'll go 180, so this is going to rotate it like it rotates the camera. You could also add some different rotations if you want. I'm just going to be using the Z because I think it looks really nice. Press keyframe and it'll keyframe all the coordinates here. And if we go and look back at that, your object's not going to be there, it's just going to be the rock. And there we go. The spin looks a bit fast, so I'll just put this down to 90. So now it's a bit slower. If I just play through that again, you can see it's just going to zoom right in there. And that's the basis of all the animation that I'm going to be doing. If you should probably spend a bit more time perfecting everything in this, but you know, just for tutorial purposes, I'm going to try and cut it down a bit. So also one thing we can mess with is on the landscape, you can mess with the rough furrows, however you pronounce that. Furrows, I'm going to say 4 rows. And it can kind of create a really nice effect behind your logo, and it will just keep the scene interesting while there's not really much happening apart from the camera movement. So I'm just going to, from this point, I'm going to keyframe this. If you press the keyframe, it will only keyframe these coordinates. It's not going to keyframe each individual part. So if you want to actually keyframe an individual part, you're going to do control click, and if you want to remove a keyframe, you can do shift click, but I'm not going to be doing that just in case you made a mistake and keyframed it somewhere else. So once I've done that, I'm going to go right to the end, and I'm just going to move this a little bit. And if we scroll back through that, it's a kind of weird animation, but yeah. Yeah, so there's some really good stuff you can do with this. Might actually keyframe the sea level just where the logo kind of explodes out. So I'm going to go here just to see what the keyframes are. Go back to the landscape, and I'm going to keyframe the sea level, and then go back to the logo just to see where it ends, and go back to the landscape and turn this back up to 0, back down to 0 I mean. And then as we can see, it's going to be a little animation where it's going to all come in like that. And I might actually remove the keyframes up here because I don't really like it. I think it will look kind of glitchy. So yeah. Okay. So now that we've done that, that's basically everything that we are going to need to do for this intro. All we're going to really need to do now is do the render settings and then just render this out into After Effects. So first off, I'm just going to go into my render settings, and I'm going to change this to 1280 by 1080. 720 I mean, sorry. That is 720 resolution. I do that on all my intros, because 1080 I used to render in that, but that would really increase the render times even more, so I don't think it's worth it. Resolution, I'm going to put that at 300 dpi pixels per inch, and then on the frame rate I'm going to do 30 frames per second, and for the frame range, set it to manual and set it to 8 seconds. If you select all frames, it will select everything in here, but I'm aware that there is a problem with like R12, and some people still use R12 because I used to, and there was a problem where you did current frame when you rendered something out. Sometimes it would say error, can't write to file, or something along those lines. And then in anti-aliasing, we're going to set the anti-aliasing to best, and then I'm going to go to the save options, and I can also now set the location where I want us to go. If you're doing a image sequence, which I'm going to do because it's the highest quality you can get, and also if your computer crashes during the render, you can restart from a frame, and if you basically you want like stop the render and want to redo a part, you can't do that if you're using a video file like QuickTime, AVI. So yeah, it's basically a much better option. So I'm just gonna create a new folder so you can have all the picture sequence in here. So I'm just gonna name this tutorial intro. Gonna go in here and render, yeah, and then just save that. I'm gonna be saving this as a TIFF PSD layers. PNG works as well, and select alpha channel and put the depth at 16-bit. If you are kind of running low on space on your hard drive, go for PNG. Don't go for JPEG. It's really low and it's really compressed, and that's why it looks really pixelated, and just there's not really any point in doing all this if you're just going to put it on you know, PNG or JPEG. So you really want to go for the highest quality you can get. So once you've done that, you can start rendering this out, and I will see you guys in the After Effects part for part 3. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.